This episode is all about how AI is transforming inventory management. From gut instinct to real-time precision, I'm joined by Lance Schafer with the LotLinx team. He's going to break down how AI helps dealers price smarter, move inventory faster, and meet customer demand like never before. And if you're still relying on past sales data alone, this one's your wake-up call. Let's go. Welcome to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki, where inspiration meets action. This is your spot to grow, level up, and lead with fresh ideas. From sales to service, from frontline teams to executives, we're dropping weekly knowledge and insight to keep your store sharp, relevant, and profitable. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm thrilled to have a longtime supporter, a true innovator in automotive retail technology. It's Lance Schafer. He's the general manager of product and technology at LotLinx. Welcome.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, Jen. It's great to see you.
Yeah, well, it's been a while. You've been on the show before. And, one of the things that I always really like about you is that I feel like you and LotLinx are always on the forefront of integrating AI into dealership operations, leading the development of machine learning that is literally transforming how dealers manage their inventory, the pricing, and even just customer engagement. And I want to say this about you because, not everybody will know the background of Lance, but this is something that I've always, admired is that, you had a company before joining LotLinx in 2015 and you co-founded, what was it? It was called lemonfree.com. This is an automotive online marketplace and you were acquired. You had a successful exit and LotLinx picked you up, right?
That's right. Yeah, no, we started that company, myself and a couple partners co-founders in about 2006. And so we ran that for 9 years. It was an awesome ride. It's
Amazing.
how we got into automotive. Yeah, it's how we got into automotive. And, we got that site up to about 3 or 4 million auto shoppers a month. It was really quite a ride. It was, and it was awesome. And, when we met with the LotLinx folks, we were so aligned with their vision and it was great to be acquired and then and merge in and work with them. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years, but yeah.
I can't believe it. Yeah, so now you've just got, it's not just the 10 years, you got like 2 decades of experience in digital marketing.
It is. It's been 19 years of automotive focus. Although I did make my very first business from the mid 90s, I was making websites for auto dealers. So I did have some kind of exposure, but it was more on just kind of providing a service to auto dealers. I've always loved working with auto dealers. And so I kind of had a few years of doing that as well, but I just love the industry. But officially, I think I've been in about 20 years, I'd say. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's always like an honor really to meet people that are pioneers in any fields. I've always seen you and LotLinx as pioneers in the field. And in this episode, I'd like to dive into how AI is reshaping dealership strategies. We hear a lot of noise on AI, and I think in the last couple of years, it's really popped. And I think we have a long ways to go. But you guys, I always tell people, LotLinx is the OG of VIN level marketing. And this is all about inventory management and customer experience and why embracing these technologies is crucial for just being competitive. Everybody's trying to have an edge, a leg up on their competitors in today's market. So maybe, since you've been so instrumental in bringing AI to the forefront of dealership operations, maybe you could talk to us about your journey and how that led your focus on AI-driven solutions in automotive retail. Tell us a little about it.
Yeah, for sure. So, when we decided to really focus on what, having a plan for every VIN, think about it, a dealer might have 200 or 300 VINs, and we wanted to put a plan around every single one of them. That's a highly complex activity. And then about 2017, we realized that AI was coming forward with enough technology to actually do a better job than anything we'd ever seen. So in about end of 2017, we hired our first director of machine learning, and that at that time, it's funny because there's AI has become such a huge thing. So it was it wasn't that big of a thing, especially on automotive back in 2017.
No.
And so we started just staffing up with AI engineers, and back then these were all people who had like PhDs in physics. It was like the forefront of people who were kind of doing these models, and the tool sets we have now are completely different. But what we did with most of that was what we call classic machine learning, which is that we tuck it behind the product to help make better decisions. So the dealers really, even though we had AI at LotLinx for years and years and years, the dealers never really interacted with it. It was more of like tucked behind the product, and all these models would run and deploy, VIN level marketing for every VIN using machine learning models. So that was, really the first 4 or 5 years we focused on that. A little bit on imagery as well, helping dealers, or at least for some of the ad tech and marketing tech stack, make the images more appealing in the consumer perspective. So we did some image work also in machine learning, but most of it was in prediction, like we're predicting where the best place to put an ad was for every vehicle every day, if that makes sense. So highly, it costs a lot of money. We put a lot of money into it, and we still do. But that's really kind of where we got our start in about 2017, I think it was. Yeah.
So it's so interesting to see how the product evolves. And now we've seen you guys launch some new elements, into the mix that, allows the dealer to get information that they're looking for a lot faster. But, it's really great to see things evolve and see where you've been and see where you're going. And look, traditional inventory management, it just oftentimes relies on gut feelings. I work with dealers. I work with used car managers. It's a lot of gut feeling. And sometimes they'll look at like the past sales data. So how does AI change this approach, and what advantages does it offer dealers today?
Yeah, and it's changed. So if you think about where we started in 2017 and 18 with ML, or machine learning, what really was the ground shake was the end of 22 when LLMs emerged with this, with OpenAI and ChatGPT to start. And what that did, so the biggest problem with AI, and we recognized this early on, is when you recommend to a dealer, hey, you should spend this much marketing this vehicle and this much on this vehicle, and this vehicle should go to these places and those vehicles, they ask why. Why is that? Like, why? And the problem with classic machine learning is it's not really good at saying why. It says the answer is, well, because I predict that if you do that, it'll sell faster. But that's not exactly a why. That's just like, and I think in the past, and I know we've talked about this, Jen, I always use example of like, when you plug in, when you're going from somewhere to somewhere in Google Maps, it will tell you how long it'll take to get there, but it doesn't really say why. Like sometimes it'll show an accident or whatever. And so those are the things that you kind of have to trust AI on up until 2022. In 2022, I think the reason people are so excited about ChatGPT and it's, that was the fastest adopted market launch of all time. 100 million people in like 5 days. Yeah. So what was the reason is we started to learn why. We started to understand the reasoning behind the AI's thinking. And this is really where things got exciting for us, because not only could we have these great machine learning models that says, do this, do that, do this, a dealer can start to say, well, why should I do that? Because dealers do have all those gut instincts. And so when an AI can tell you why, well, if the AI woke up in the morning or whatever, you ask, what should I do with this? What should I do with this VIN? What should I do with it? Should I mark it down? Should I send it to auction? Does it need more reconditioning? Like, and if it just said, well, do this, do this, do this. And of course, if you were hiring someone to help you with that, you'd say, well, why do you think that? Like, show me that you actually put it. Now these models are able to not just doing the machine learning side, but with the generative side and the LLMs explaining why that is. So it's like having an assistant. So it's like having an assistant saying, well, I'll tell you why I think we should mark it down, this car down $1,000 today. Our competitor X just got 3 in stock and just repriced them, and they're over there. We just noticed that the day supply moved over here. We noticed that, the weather is changing over there. We know, and it just, once you start, and then the used car manager, if it's in that case, could say, okay, but I still feel like you're missing something. And that's where the used car manager can start having a discussion with these AIs. And that's game changing. Like that is because it allows the human to be augmented by another kind of artificial intelligence, obviously, a human intelligence plus an artificial intelligence. And this is what they call an AI, the technical word is human in the loop. And that's where the human and the AI are collaborating. and getting to the decision. But the AI is doing a lot of the heavy cognitive lifting that you just like looking and see what's going on here. Are there new incentives, or what are my competitors doing, or what's the day supply looking like, or whatever's happening in the environment on any given day. And so that is, I think, really what's changing and started to change really in 20. Well, it happened at the end of 22. It took us like a year to figure out what the heck was even going on, because it was like no one even knew.
Right.
And now everyone's building on top of this,
Yes.
these frontier models, and bringing that to the dealer, which is in a real simple way. And it's very exciting times, I think, to be a dealer, because a lot of that work we either don't want to do, or don't do, or don't do to the extent that we know we'd like to. And I think that's where these AIs are really coming in now.
Well, it's about efficiency, and it's about trying to make better decisions faster than anybody else.
Right. That's right. And that's exactly what the AIs will do for you, is they'll
Yeah.
help you make those decisions.
Yeah.
Whether it's, acquiring, pricing, marketing, like, everything really. Like at some point it'll be everything.
Yeah, look, I'm knee deep in it every day, and
Yeah.
I need it for something. And I was just teaching a class yesterday at the NADA Academy, and I was showing some of the leadership. I had said to them, look, it's very important that you make every single salesperson, I know I'm going off the rails here, but it's important that every single salesperson downloads ChatGPT. It's on their phone. And the reason why is because you need to be submersed in AI. Not only as a leader should you be dabbling and understanding how this technology is evolving, and you need to be on the forefront. You need to stay relevant. You need to be knee deep in it. And it may not work 100% the way you want it to, but just realize that every company out there is doing their best to stay on top of it and to continuously improve their product and their offerings and the services to make your life easier. So you've got to do the same for the people internally in the sales team. You have to make sure they know how to use AI, how to leverage it into their day-to-day, how to become more efficient. And I think that's the name of the game moving forward here. Is everybody's got to get their hands in this and understand how it can make their lives easier. And look, pricing is something that's kind of a big deal. And I'm curious to hear how you approach it. So in just thinking about pricing vehicles correctly, it's just an ongoing and everyday challenge. How does AI assist in more of a dynamic pricing, and what impact would you say you've seen in dealers' profitability?
Yeah, so the pricing is a really interesting one, because it's highly complex, right?
Mm.
And when a dealer's repricing a vehicle, um, often, like, what we notice is they use kind of what we call deterministic methods. So
Mm.
if this happens, then reprice it. If it hasn't sold in a week, then let's reprice it. And
Okay.
then there can be another determination after that point, which is like, if it's a $30,000 to $40,000 car, lower it by 1,000 or 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like what we're kind of seeing. Not everyone's doing it. Some people are actually, because
Raising.
yeah, they're raising too. So right, especially in the tariff environment. So,
Yes.
or like the old COVID environment. So
Yeah.
it could be going the other way, but it's kind of like they're looking at it maybe once a week. Where AIs come in is they can do a lot of heavy lifting all the time.
Mm.
So in other words, they're a little bit more responsive than, say, and the reason you do it once a week is, imagine having to go in and do research on every single VIN, every single
No
VIN.
way.
It's just not
That's
going
the
to.
problem. It weighs a person down.
It weighs a person down, and where AI does is it takes that kind of lift away from the person, so
Mm.
that they can be more nimble on decision making regarding
Mm-hmm.
pricing, or other things too.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd say is that is really where AI is coming in. Is it's lifting harder and faster, so that those decisions are a little bit easier to make, a little faster to make, a little ahead of the market. So the dealers that are using the tools, AI tools, to help price, and then we have our tool that we use in LotGPT. That's exactly what's happening. And the other thing too, what we find is, when we have dealers looking at it at a bin and saying, should I reprice it?
Mm-hmm.
There's like really interesting things that we've noticed. Here's a good example. Sometimes dealers are repricing cars that have active deals on them. And so what the AI says, hey, they'll look into the CRM and say, you got 3 active kind of customers on this. Why are you lowering the price? And so it just stops little things like that
Mm.
that would cause a headache, right? Because how do you go and look? Imagine every time you reprice a deal, like, well, let's go look in the CRM and see if there's any deals on it. Like, it's a lot of work, right? But to have it all that, or
No,
another,
you're not leaving $1 on the table.
no, exactly right. The other thing that these AIs are doing is they're looking at website traffic to that VIN. So imagine you're saying, should I lower the price on this car? And it looks as well, you're getting what, 5 VDP views a day on it. Like, chances are, this is going to sell. You should probably hold on. This is just a car that might take a little bit longer. Lowering the price will actually won't have an impact on the transaction, other than it'll be on the amount of time it's on the lot. It'll only lower your profitability.
Yeah.
So it's basically giving advice around those things, saying, hey, this car is looking pretty healthy. Yeah, I know you might want to sell it in 30 days, but the average is 90 days for cars like this. You got to give it time. Just lowering price isn't going to change the dynamic if there's people not shopping. Now, the other
Powerful stuff.
It is powerful stuff. It's, I mean, the one of the things that LotLinx is bringing to bear to this is, because we're hooked into 150 of the largest automotive publications, we have a good lead indicator of what is shopping out there.
Right.
And so if there's nobody shopping for those cars, if you lower the price, it's like, it doesn't matter. You might as well wait until the
That's a car you need to get rid of.
That's right. That's right. You need a different plan. And so that's where, like, it comes in. And what we do with some of our dealers who test out our products is we try to put it and say, well, why do you think the AI might be wrong here? And because sometimes they don't agree. And it's like, they're arguing with the AI. And to be fair, the AI could be wrong. We're still so early, Jen.
Exactly.
So
we've seen it.
Right. And what we do is we take a look, and this is where you go back to your traditional machine learning, and you update the models with this new information that a dealer brings to bear. And so it gets smart. That's one of the ways it gets smarter and smarter and smarter. So I always say we're like in the top or bottom of the second inning right now. Like, it's still, and I want to touch a little bit on your other point about dealers, just need to get into it. I think sometimes they're frustrated that sometimes it's wrong or hallucinating. You hear about these things.
Yes.
And just understanding that, yes, that does sometimes still happen, but it's getting less and less and less and less. And so you don't want to wait till it's perfect, because all your competitors will have been taking advantage of it by then. And that's not the way technology works, right? So you have to embrace it, accept it, that it could hallucinate. That's why the human in the loop is pretty important still for a lot of activities. Like, don't do full agentic or full agencies unless you're very, very certain that it's working. That's kind of my advice right now for dealers. Just get in there, same as you. Get in there, be patient. It's pretty awesome, and just wait for it to get better and better, and be there the whole time, and so that you know how to incorporate into the dealership.
And in my experience too, and just submersing myself in AI development, everything you're saying is 100%. At the same time, you'll notice it unfold not perfectly in dealerships, and I watch these guys bail, and I constantly am saying to them, you can't bail. You have to realize this is the process now. And we're still early phases, but you need to be able to pinpoint when it goes off the rails. You need to understand that in what moments does it maybe not give you the full answer that you're looking for. And if you don't keep forward, you pull back, then you're not going to continuously learn yourself, which is what we want these machines to do, is continuously learn so it gets better and improves. It's the same thing that we operate under. If we don't practice things, then we don't get better. So if you pull back, you miss out on the opportunity. And it's not just for using a product like LotLinx. It's about in general. This is the era that we have entered, and it is not going away. And look, our best leaders today are, I say, they are trying anything that makes sense, and they're messing around with these tools, and they're getting involved with companies like you and representatives in that company to be able to give feedback and to say, hey, this is where it went off the rails. Hey, this isn't accurate. Hey, this is working. And the more that you get those conversations going with your representatives in the AI companies that you're using, the better this product's going to improve and faster. And it's nice to hear you say that, because you've got a full team of people ready to hear from the dealer, so you could go back to the main source, the machine, and teach it something new so it can continuously improve, right?
That's exactly right. And I think you can appreciate, Jen, because you've done training before, right?
Yeah.
So the machine has incredible intelligence. In other words, it can process, like, it's like having a new trainee who's is smart, they've gone to the right schools and all that, but they haven't been trained on how to sell a car or, take an up in the dealership or whatever.
Right.
And so what happens is imagine if in a few days this great trainee who isn't fully trained made a few mistakes. You wouldn't just fire the person saying this person's useless.
Right.
You'd send
You're
them
going to try to help them get better.
because they were showing up for work every day, they looked great, but yeah, they just weren't trained on this one thing. And so
great.
that's the way I try to. The other thing too, one of the reasons we need to release these imperfect things, unlike software, which is you want to kind of have perfect,
Sure.
is because it is the method of that. It's no different than if you did have a new trainee fresh out of school, wants to sell cars, and you just said, sorry, like if you don't get this right in after 10 tries, we're just gonna move on. Like and you commit to the training aspect of it. And in most AIs, I'll tell you what we do, and I think all companies do it similarly, is even as you have the thumbs up, thumbs down, rate it. That is literally one of the major feedback mechanisms we use. Every time we see a thumbs down, it goes into the AI engineer's hands. They look, and usually it's a training problem, right? And so like it's funny because we use the word training, not programming, right? In software, you program it or develop it or engineer it, but in AI, you train it because it actually acts like an intelligence. And the wonderful thing is, generally, once you train it once, it's pretty good. That's a little different than people. I know I've had to be retrained a lot of things. My wife will tell you, I need a lot of training still on certain things already, right? But these things generally are smarter, right? So, or more intelligent or more capacity, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the way you have to look at it. Is this is a real sharp recruit that still doesn't know the car business. So like, just bear with it and watch it go, and it's going to be really exciting to see where it ends up.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put it and help us kind of put this thing into perspective. It's I think it's so exciting. It's the future. It's now, and the more you continuously get involved in it, the more and look, people buy products and then they don't use them, I mean, the more you get involved in this is your inventory, this is your pricing, this is you leveraging day-to-day marketing choices to help you move cars faster and more efficiently with higher profit margins. Who doesn't want that? That's like, we're in business for a reason. Because we're not a nonprofit. But thinking about maybe customer expectations now, I know that these are evolving rapidly, and I'm wondering from your perspective how AI enhances that customer experience, particularly when it comes to aligning with inventory and even consumer demand.
Yeah, so the neat thing is, because these AIs are ingesting so much data, you can train them not just to, of course, we're building something for dealers, right? And for dealers to be smarter. But in order for dealers to make smart decisions, we have to impart some of that. We have to have the consumer mindset in mind when we're actually building these things. So here's where LotLinx has always been focused at the VIN level. Everyone knows that. And so here's a great example. Right now, we have a product that's in early testing, where we take a look at all the images on a dealer's that we get from a dealer, so 20 or 30 images. And we take a look at the description on the VDP and everything that the dealer wrote about was this a one owner? Was this, is this a have warranty
CPO?
On? And then some of the, even like scanning the image and looking at features like in the car. And what it does is it's starting to use both of those sources and looking at it like a person and annotating those images so that by the time they get through the images, they already know everything that's great about that car that they wouldn't have known before. Now, there are some companies that do that, but most dealers we find, our customers, don't have a great, very simple method of doing that every time and always right. And so that's just one example of the consumer experience. And so ensuring that the consumer is getting what they want. Also rewriting descriptions. Dealers, I get it. Description writing is not that fun, right?
No, but since they got the ChatGPT, it's a little easier.
It's a little easier now. And so what you can do, what we're doing is we have a product called Showroom. And Showroom is basically a hosted VDP that LotLinx has. And what we're doing is we're testing descriptions, looking to see how the engagement went, and then using that to learn and teach it how to write better descriptions. So the dealer doesn't do anything. It's just all based on consumer feedback.
Oh, this is what we want.
Yeah, so those are the types of things that are going to come to bear. Like we're talking like this year.
This is insane. I love everything that you're saying. It's literally progress.
It
This is
literally is progress.
advancement. This is progressive.
Yes, and it's things that a dealer could do, but it'd be very expensive to hire someone to basically start annotating images, rewriting
No.
descriptions, doing those tests, learning from the tests like a data
Yeah.
scientist, and redoing it. It's too much work. So it never happened. It'd be so expensive. It would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars per month probably to do that work. So that's the wonderful thing that's going to happen. And what it's going to do is it's going to bridge a nice consumer experience coming into the dealership. The consumer is going to come in, they're going to understand what's on the car better, they're going to understand the value of that car. So the salesperson is going to be a little bit, is going to be happy. They might know, this, a lot of times the consumers come into your sales, but they know more about the car than I do, especially with off-brand and stuff like that. Right?
Agreed.
So this is just going to take it to that next level.
You know what? I got to tell you this real quick, because, I'm always from that salesperson's perspective in the dealerships. I mean, this is generating opportunities, but they have to actually push it forward so it becomes a deal, right? And so a lot of times currently, the salespeople are really challenged with knowing their inventory. They just, for whatever reason, and I always say to them, how are you going to sell things if you don't know your inventory? And I say it's even better when you're talking to customers, especially when they contact you remotely, to be able to say some snippets about the car very quickly. So it looks like you really know this car. And in this case here, where a salesperson could leverage this description, some of this information that is being produced, on this listing, it just helps them talk more naturally, more organically about the vehicle. And I think it's a salesperson's tool.
Well, it's funny you say salespersons. That you must be reading our product roadmap, Jen. We have an app. LotLinx is doing something for the first time, integrating with the salesperson. And what we're doing is a salesperson with the LotGPT app take a picture of the VIN anywhere on the car. So say they're with a customer, they looked at the VIN, and it automatically pops up all the top selling features for that VIN, including the images that are annotated, so they can swipe through and so it's almost like an augmented look at the vehicle. And saying, this car still has warranty on it. This car has had a price drop. This car has CarPlay and Android and all those things that what consumers want. This has been a one owner car. Things that you can't really tell just by walking around the lot and looking at it. What about that one? What about that one? It's going to be instant. And so those are the types of augmentations. We call that kind of augmentation, where you can actually look at the car, but be augmented by, it's almost like maybe someday it'll be those Google glasses or whatever they got.
Yeah.
Where you look at it and it automatically just says one owner, never been in an accident, has had 3 price drops or whatever it is that would make
new tires put on 2 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like all where you can just, and then when you look at the next car, all that is augmented right away. So we haven't done it with the glasses, but we're doing it with the app and the phone, so that especially helping the salesperson while they're on the lot work with a customer has been a huge request. And really until this AI, it's really only been to very recently that we've been able to really do that. So I'm excited that you brought that up because that is coming very, very shortly. Yeah.
It's excellent. Listen, I'm with these guys every day, so I know where that fits into the day-to-day and how that assists them in not only being more knowledgeable in a second, but it helps them attain more credibility and trust, which is what we're fighting for.
Yeah, it's the pits when you point out a couple features that are actually wrong, and especially if the customer already knew that because they did their research walking in, and you're trying to build this relationship, and it's like, well, what else might they be wrong about? And so yeah, like what we want to do, or they're pointing out things that really aren't that meaningful for that particular event, or they're missing the really meaningful, impactful things, like you said, like this thing's got new rubber on it. It's got, this package was a $5,000 package, 3 years ago. It's on there. Look at those wheels. Look at that. Look at the different, and especially with option packages and stuff like that, they can be complicated, right? Why not just make it easy?
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you this, and you probably won't even believe me because you've been so submersed in this. And listen, I'm still infancy. I'm still 2 years into this, where I'm, ChatGPT explosion. I was there. But at this time, so for me, it's a day-to-day usage. So you may not believe this, but I work, even yesterday in my class, every single class I hold every week in dealerships, I ask the question, how many of you have ChatGPT on your phone right now? And it is actually actually very, very, very disappointing, shocking even, that so many of them have never even heard this word. So fast forward to what you're saying. It's like if they don't need to access that tool. Now it's worked into really the availability of the tools that they're using anyway to be
Right.
able to support car sales. I
Yeah.
don't need to go to chat because I don't need to. So a lot of times I'm teaching them how to search properly to get a more personalized and tailored conversation for emails and texts and videos and things like this. But in this case, I want to be on the lot. Boom, I've got it. I don't need to search. I don't need to ask for what are your top 3 selling points. This is something I always, use ChatGPT for, but you've already got it done. It's already done. Like nobody
Yeah.
needs to lift a finger. It's boom, it's right here.
And it's been tested by 1,000 subject matter experts who basically validated that this is kind of the way. So when you can have that confidence, like it's trained. And this is a really important concept of the ChatGPT is what's called a frontier LLM, or it's a large scale LLM. What we're building in the automotive industry and also in legal and medicine are vertical LLMs. So they're taking kind of what they built as a frontier and they're layering it with intelligence only for that industry. And so, right now it's still ChatGPT and it'll always be ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever else is going on. And so, but for dealers, they need something that's trained like a dealer. Like, so, for example, someone could be great at selling, real estate, but they may not be, there may be some things that cross over to autos, but not really, right? Like, I mean, it's not quite the same thing. They certainly couldn't write up a deal. And so that's kind of what we're doing at LotLinx, and anyone who's in the verticals is they're creating this thing called vertical LLM. And so ChatGPT is kind of the power plant, the brain, but then you input all this machine learning and other models that are in tight with it, and you get the best of both worlds, if that makes sense.
You have really done a great job of explaining how everything works in such a real world example approach. And I have to say big thanks to you, Lance, for that.
My goal always is to try to make it as simple as possible. I think the best technology just works. When my grandma, who's in her 90s, she can FaceTime me. That's a testament to the power of that Steve Jobs and making it simple, because it's really complicated when you open the phone and look at it. There's a lot of complicated stuff going on there. The R&D of the camera, who knows? But you know what? I just want to take a picture of my kids. You know what I mean? Video. And so I believe that our approach is to make it that simple. Like if a salesperson just wants to know
that's what we need
what's going on with this car, you just need a snapshot, and you need the easiest possible way to communicate with a customer.
Exactly.
And it should be simple. Yeah.
Well, you guys are nailing it as usual. I love and appreciate the sponsorship and the support of this podcast. Without you guys, we really wouldn't have the podcast, and people are enjoying it. Thousands and thousands of people enjoying this. And I just know they're going to love this episode too. I know I did. And I do always appreciate the time with you, because you've just got real insight, like real understandable insight on how AI, is working for dealers. It's not just a buzzword. It's a money-making tool, and it's something that you got to use right now. And it's exciting.
Yeah, no. And, listen, I'm so glad that we're working with you, because Jen, I remember when I saw you at any day 2 or 3 years ago, after we were talking about ChatGPT, I didn't even know what LotLinx was going to do with generative at that point, because it was November and NADA was in January, and we were still head spinning about it, right? Because we're still in the traditional ML world. And, I remember you saying, I'm trying it for this, I'm trying it for that. And I was like, wow, like we're so aligned in the fact that you're always adopting these technologies early, but also in the practical application of making money, making our lives better, making our businesses better, versus playing around and party tricks or whatever it is, right? And so, because you do see a lot of that, right?
No, I do it with my kids. I mean, especially the AI image, that's so fun.
It is fun, yeah. So no, the alignment is great, and I'm super happy to talk to you today again. And it's who knows what's next, but it's coming.
Well, clearly you guys are on the forefront. This is what I'm always looking for, especially like if you look at some of the guests that I've had on the podcast, I'm always looking for technology now. That's really been my thing over the last 2 years is who's on the forefront. That's who I want on my show. Who's innovating, who's showing us something different that we haven't seen before. Because the key word here is to be modern, stay relevant. And look, there's just so many things unfolding that's hard to stay on top of these things. And you just can't wait for the market to say, okay, you have to do this. You have to be ahead of it. And you've got to be able to teach it to your team members. You've got to make sure they're using it and that they're leveraging it to level up their business. That's what this is. This is about leveling up your business so your team makes more money. We build real success here. I mean, thank you, Lance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100% agree with everything you said there. So yeah, it's that's the approach that I think everyone needs to take.
Me too. Look at us running parallel again. Okay. Well, thank you so much. We'll look forward to the next time you come on.
All right. Thanks so much, Jen. We'll chat soon.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. Don't forget, my weekly live classes are designed to keep your team fired up, skilled up, and focused on results. Subscribe right now at edealersolutions.com. See ya!